know,
And-
this is going out to Louise.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, it's 5 o'clock. We do have a quorum, so we will bring the meeting to order. The minutes went out. Everybody get a chance to take a look at them?
That's really busy last week.
I guess so. 5 pages. Detail. Any comments, questions, additions, subtractions? Will everybody speak at once? Okay, so shall we approve them to put them
I move we accept them as written.
all in favor? And won't have anybody on Zoom,
I
right?
technically should vote because I wasn't at the meeting, but I'm sure that.
Well, you can abstain.
Yes,
Oh, okay, I will officially abstain.
all right. Okay, they are accepted. I guess we can't say unanimously. All right. Just one quick update before we get into the survey. I had put down on item 5 about marketing the island, and that was a misinterpretation, something on my part. It was really talking about marketing the survey itself. Marketing the island is really part of a different project, and so we'll just skip over it. So Susan, do you want to?
Okay, so, the survey for Off Island, Raymond, who works at, the Boardman Cottage, is happy to distribute those. So he's going on the ferry and he comes over for work and after the end of work and seeing how many people will do them. And I give him a big bunch and a, clipboard thing. So hopefully he will, be able to get a number. I have not gone out to meet the Quicksilver, and I probably won't until, I got falling apart arms, so I'm not gonna do it until I know where the arms are, besides looking like they're on me. But I will do that or ask someone else to do it. And then you were going to, the other thing, I went to PYY and gave a bunch and they will, they have a weekly meeting on Monday. And I will go tomorrow or Friday and pick up and see what people have filled out from all the people who work there.
And the island contractors and the store and so on.
Well, the store, Durkee's doesn't hire anyone from off island, and I can give a survey to,
Sky.
I can give surveys to Sky. I mean, we know one of the people working at the island market how to apply for housing.
I think there are 2.
Hey,
Odd
so-
Island.
Yeah, so I know who she is, but we can get more information.
3.
3, come off island?
Right.
Mhm.
But at any rate, everybody who's working on the island
Oh, I see.
goes there
Stop
for
it.
lunch.
Yeah,
But yeah, the other contractors, JT, Clayton Brothers, IME,
Staples and Peter Mills,
yeah.
they all employ people
That's
from
correct.
off island.
okay, so I can do that as I recover functioning. Okay. So that's the story.
Okay.
And
And
then,
I sent Michael a Washington Post article just this afternoon that I hope you can send out to
I
everyone.
will.
And it was talking about the national housing shortage and how to measure it. We've all been talking about, can we quantify the need here on Islesboro? It's very difficult to do that on any scale. At the national scale, they were variously quoted by different sources. Anything from we need an additional 2 million to 20 million new homes. And they went through the ways they could compute those different numbers. And they're all reasonable and all wildly different. So it's the same thing at that scale as this for us. It's difficult to know how many homes local residents need. And it's very difficult to think about how many homes could we fill from people coming from the mainland if we had them at an affordable cost. So we can chase that number all we want to, but I think that we all agree there is a need, and that's what we should just go on that assumption.
Well, there's one other metric, which is, we know from the school that they have projected at least 3 or 4 faculty member housing, and presumably there's, I don't know what the science is here, maybe there isn't any, but if you want to attract 25 to 50 students, that implies a certain amount. I mean, that's it. I think, by the way, on the marketing side, if the school is utilizing their own consultant, as I understand they are, to attract more magnet students, that should be coupled with a distribution of the questionnaire, and that's another audience, potential audience.
So returning to the survey, because the wrong one went out in the mail for this month, that was the one for off island that went out, not the on island one. So I don't know how that happened, but it happened. So do we want to send out the survey for Islesboro again in March with the mailer?
It's not radically different.
It's the same survey, it's just the introduction is different.
Yeah, but also we're not, people from Islesboro can have a chance to win the ferry tickets, right? And it's not quite geared to them. And it may be a turnoff that people are receiving at the home, a survey for people who are not on Islesboro. I think it behooves us to just do another round.
How often
Next
do
one.
those go out?
Once a month.
Once a
Yeah,
month.
beginning.
So-
It may,
So just,
I apologize, may have been my fault. I was trying to act as an intermediary between Kate and Janet.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
I got
okay.
confused.
That
so,
won't hurt anything. Knocking on the door twice, you might get more
no,
responses.
and that's fine, and
So-
just,
Can I get it in?
the wrong one was sent, because I think if
March
I didn't know
1st.
that it was going out, I probably
Yeah,
might have been a
you
little
just have to
irritated
get the
by
right
it.
one
Why am I
to
getting this?
Janet.
Not right
I can help with
whatsoever.
All right.
I didn't realize
Okay.
that Janet got the wrong one, so
Neither.
I couldn't step into.
And I helped
Prevent
staple, and I didn't fix it, so. So,
Comedy of errors.
so the next one will go out at the beginning of March, March 1st. So let's
Okay.
target to get that done. But it has gone out in constant contact, has it not?
Can't remember.
Supposedly.
Yes, it
Yeah.
has, a couple weeks ago.
And then Lindsay had an idea of using a QR code.
Yes,
And so that could be used, what do? You put your phone on it and?
you just open up your camera and scan the QR code and it'll bring you to if we're using Google Forms, to the Google form, and that way I feel like paper and the younger generation, that's more
That would be good.
technological.
So if you sent me that code.
Yeah.
That could be reproduced on, and I can write up a thing, and then that can go at the ferry
Mhm.
terminals, it could be put up at the stores.
We should add that actually.
It could be like on the back of the survey for Islesboro, so they can just do it that way. Okay, good.
Okay, so let's do that. But you do have some responses, right? From things that are out there?
And I haven't gone back to check if after the fact anyone's dropped off,
Okay.
but we had 14
Oh.
the first time around, which wasn't very many. It
Nope.
was before the holidays, et cetera, et cetera.
I think we can get that out the better, because that leads us into, as we skip item 5, we go into item 6.
Yeah.
So, for those who were at the last meeting, we had, well, and I guess it even goes back a little farther, had a discussion that included school board, IESC, IAP, and the housing committee, and we created a subgroup that has met twice, I guess it is. And our agreement on that is to use that group to push forward a housing policy, if you would, that would go in front of the select board. And with hopefully some achievable recommendations on, frankly, how to raise money, and that money would be targeted towards building houses, specifically workforce. And because if we look at our workforce, we have lost through retirement, place them, where would they live, So that's why that target really is workforce. I will tell you, an IAP board meeting last week, IAP obviously being part of the discussion, does have concerns about, one, they're an independent organization and therefore not linked to the town, other than being an organization that supports town housing. And so we want to be going after this.
And it doesn't really matter to the donor, I don't think, whether or not, who gets the money. I mean, maybe there's some
Well, I think it does.
operational matters, but this is not a matter of, a line of people with their hands out all asking for money for the same thing.
I see that as a different set of eyes, because I do think if it's not coordinated, you're asking people for housing donations. I think there are ways to address it.
Who's doing the asking?
IAP has a fundraising committee.
And is there somebody else doing that?
Not right now. We're talking about adding somebody to it. That's where
I don't
where
necessarily
IAP
think
gets
we need
concerned.
to add somebody. I think we need to just collaborate.
You have to discuss it, and then also when you're raising public money, the determination of how that money is spent is really very critical.
Okay.
So if you give it to IAP, does that say that the town has management responsibility for the money that the town raised? And IAP is saying that's not, just to use a word, it's not their business model. That's not how they operate. I believe personally, there are ways to get through that. Like any organization, you can donate money for a specific purpose. And if you donate it to IAP, IAP will say, and I made this up in a conversation today, they're going to create a town center housing, right? So you're going to donate it to town center housing. They're going to put it into the general fund, or what a lot of 501c3s do is wherever you need it most, kind of a thing. But once you donate that money leaves the public domain and enters to effectively the private end, or IAP's money. So, and again, I think you can do it, but it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of agreement on how that money flows. And again, you can coordinate fundraising as long as it meets everybody's needs. I'll just simplify it by saying that, but I do think it's something that can be done, but people have to be convinced that it meets their specific organization's goals and plans. So,
I mean, we could approach this from the other direction, which is saying, what is the most efficient way of both raising more money to build affordable housing and get the public sector to contribute to that effort? What's the most efficient way to do that?
you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question.
Well, first thing I'm gonna do is give you a tin cup and ask you to stand outside.
My tin cup is already out there, and I gave it
So,
the office.
Mike,
But I'm just saying.
we have talked about this before, and I think the one model that you can use is the model that the health center put together. I mean, they did I think, a very good job of, they created a fundraising committee. That fundraising committee was responsible that was a little different in that it was money raised that went into the public domain, whereas this,
But it was earmarked for that.
absolutely,
And
there
when
was
we
no
went
other
to-
choice.
When we went to the town meeting and somebody said, why don't we spend this on the roads? Forget it. That wasn't even an option.
That wasn't the case that they wanted to use those funds for the roads, but
That's what they said at the meeting. I was there.
so was I. So, but anyway, neither here nor there. It can be done through that model. I mean, the other part of it is there are multiple ways that municipalities raise funds. We've talked about that or a bond issue.
IAP creates that proposal. I'm sitting here chomping at the bit to go to my fellow selectmen and say, here is the proposal. How do we come up with, in some reasonable amount of time, with this proposal?
Well,
We've talked about this multiple times.
yes.
From my perspective, the only way to go and do a fundraising or go to the town for a bond issue is you have to have a site and a design and a plan before you do any of those other things. And we don't have that right now.
What about the rest of the undeveloped portion of the land over here? We have that.
IAP has that, that's
And
correct.
presumably IAP has some idea of what the plan is to build on it.
We're working on that.
IAP's plan, if you asked IAP today what their plan is, their plan, the only one that's been, if you would, detailed is to build another duplex.
Great.
That's the only thing that's been put
And we have a
down.
plan,
And
we have a
then, but
design for the other duplex.
yes, it's exactly the same
So
as the
isn't
one that
that
was
exactly what Sean was saying we need?
Yeah, it's be the same as the one that's.
And it's got a price tag attached to it.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, it's very high.
No, I realize
The
that.
stick building is high, it's about 400,000, is
Right.
my understanding.
And that's why, as you and I talked before the meeting, that IAP has a group put together to study two things. One is buying and renovating a more economical way of going about it than building brand new. So that's one that has to be considered. The other part of it is if we're going to continue to build, what number one is a duplex, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath duplex, which is really 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, the right approach, or should it be a 4-plex? Should it, because again, if you go up, your building costs will be cheaper on a per foot basis. You'll get more bang for the buck. Do you continue to do a modular approach like they did with the 2 cottages, or do you go to stick built, or do you go to panels, which have a much less expensive delivery price? Those have to be answered, and they haven't been answered. The other part of it is looking at the overall demand. How much do you have to build and how fast do you have to build it? The school board brings up 3 teachers are going to retire and we're going to need places for 3 people to live. Well, if we go to what was just built, whether it be private or with IAP, none of those were built over that time frame. They were all took a lot longer, even prefab. So there's a fair amount of work that has to go into the overall planning process that hasn't been done. And so, what is the next step? Well, Tom gave the school board a great idea about looking at how to maybe do rentals. When we talked the last time, how you can approach, and that could take, that could provide the school at least with an interim solution to their problem. And again, I think that's part of how you get from where you are today, a dearth of housing, into getting a plan in place that it is not just a tactical plan. It's got to be a strategic plan that looks out over time. That if you look at what the school wants, you look at what townspeople want in terms of services, that is really a very long-term strategic need, and you got to be able to put things in place that lead from where you are today to where you want to go. That's what I see this committee's responsibility to do. And I don't think, because a lot of us have been involved in this for quite some time, I don't think any of this is an easy answer to put on the table. I can tell everybody would agree that we need it, but how to get it done is another.
Okay, but if we broke that down, Mike, I'm not trying to in any way, I am inexperienced in trying to work through this process, and I'm new on the street, and I'm not trying to act like I know more than anybody else. I know considerably less, and I am extremely realistic about that. But the question of whether or not it is possible to build these 6 additional units for less than $400,000 a piece. I agree with you. There are all sorts of long-term issues here that are not going to be addressed that way. There's the Durkee store property, there's other properties, there's the surveys that we have and so on. But I'm looking to the March budgeting process for the select board to consider. And I'd like to have something on the table to present to them. And it doesn't have to
That's
be.
a lovely desire, but unless you have a specific project,
Well,
that doesn't,
Tom, don't we have a specific project?
as a municipality, we do not. If IAP wants to build something on their property, they certainly can and will.
And don't you think there's a way that the town could have?
Presently, there's been no municipal support of IAP. And Michael was trying to say earlier that IAP is not sure they want to have any municipal support. They'd like to be independent and do their own design, their own fundraising. So that's that. If there is another project, it's not apparent. I mean, the
I
Upon
didn't
store
get
is
quite that message from the IAP meeting.
Yeah, it's a new idea, and I'm not sure it's gonna be percolated and come up to something in time for March.
So maybe not.
But no, and I
But
think,
if it was just a matter of public money being contributed to IAP to use however they saw, well, I'm
we
sure.
IAP. Is Barbara there? I mean, well, Kate,
I don't know who iPhone 98 is.
who's iPhone 98? There's Kate.
Before I go, if we're talking about requests for the town budget, I would raise that we had a brief conversation about doing something like what the town of Stonington did, which is just creating a line item in the town budget that supports housing. And it goes into a fund, and it doesn't necessarily need to be used at the same amount every year. The fund could grow. It also could be used for infrastructure, or for other needs to support housing, whether that's planning, whether that's, making a donation to, or a contribution in some way to IAP. But we had talked about the possibility of looking at the Stonington model for just creating a town line item, or a line item in the town budget that is a contribution to housing.
Okay, just a quick question. Did Stonington ask its people whether they wanted to add that? Was additional tax money raised to create that line item in that bucket, or was that?
No, it was something that they created without it. It doesn't have a dedicated revenue stream. It's just and I think it was something like 10 or $15,000 a year. It was a small amount that then grew into a pool. And they may have decided to grow the line item over time, but my understanding was that it was a small amount that is just, it doesn't have a dedicated revenue stream.
So has that been discussed at the select board at all?
No.
No.
I was assuming, and I don't speak for the whole select board, and I'm not empowered and I'm not capable, qualified to speak for the whole board. But I believe the understanding was, as you said a moment ago, we need a plan. We can't just ask for money to go into some, and $15,000 doesn't sound like that's that hard to sell. But I know that by inference that any addition to the town budget that is paid for through revenue would be, I mean, there isn't any other source at the moment. Grant money, but so I would wonder whether we could apply exactly that model here. I'm not ruling it out. Sounds like even if it was a trivial amount of money, it would start the process.
So Kate, did you talk to Janet and Brian?
No, I have not talked to anybody. It was just a conversation that this committee had had a couple of meetings ago, that might be one of the options to pursue. And I am happy to follow up with the town of Stonington folks that I spoke with in September or October. And I did do a little bit of searching right now, and it sounds like there's a news article from 2023 that they were discussing funds from tax acquired properties, which is not something that Islesboro typically does. And then, so I don't know if that, but that was a much larger dollar amount. So I think that might have been in addition to what they were doing before. So I can find out what their funding source is and what the dollar amount was, if that would be of interest. I can send that email.
Very much so. I understood they were building 20 houses in Stonington as we speak. And it'd be interesting to know how they financed that.
There's a private developer that they were supporting with some infrastructure for the project, is my understanding. And they were debating this past fall which project to support.
How are they paying for that? It's a big number. I mean, is it all municipal funds?
No, most of it is private, I think.
Okay, well,
But I can find out more and report back. Is it okay, Carrie, to send an email with the outcome of that to the committee, or?
Need to try to figure out which of these 8 or 10 things are even attractive to the residents of Islesboro. Just a question from a newbie.
And that's a big threshold to jump over.
why can't people own the property because it's too expensive?
The town itself?
Why can't the town facilitate the building, but people actually own their homes, buy them through another facility? Is it that if the costs are so high that it puts it out of market for them, and therefore there's a feudalism type system set up that is what you described, where the government has to allow them to rent for the rest of their lives? Or in other words, what is there another way is my question of allowing people to own homes and not build houses on top of each other like Yonkers, New York, which is where this is going, right? We're building little stacked houses with kind of cheap kitchens, and but if we keep doing that, we'll end up like the rest of like history has proven that over and over again, right? So if we could find another way, that would be I know it's hard.
What is history proven? Sorry.
Well, there have been many developments funded by both government and private donations, contractors in particular, all over, New York City as well as I do. But that has happened now. It's happening all around Boston. It's happened everywhere, over and over again. In England, it's been done a million times. France, and so it tends to build cultures that are not as independent or attractive for people to live. because you're building a substandard way of living, I think, for a lot of them. At least we here have never lived that way. We've had homes.
Well, I have a great number of friends who live in public housing projects in New York.
Yep.
And I don't think they've complained about them being.
Well, but we're not New York yet. And that's what I was wondering, whether we care if it ever moves in that direction, which is what this is doing. No, I know it might be a century, it might be, but, I have a concern about it. But I like to preserve this kind of life. Maybe I'm wrong.
But to come back to something that you had said, I think the problem with, of doing affordable housing and letting people buy it,
Mhm.
and this is what IIP has, is that you can't be allowed later to turn around and sell it for as much money as you can possibly get, because then it leaves the affordable
Which to me
property.
is, I understand it, yeah.
So that there also has to be those safeguards built
And
in.
historically, people haven't flipped their houses very often. They might trade it with a friend and move to another one, but it hasn't been a flipping society. But that's changing a bit, but historically, you will see that it hasn't been a flipping.
One needs to be legally built in.
Yeah. I couldn't agree, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, price has been the issue, at least as long as I've been involved with this. The cost of housing has been the biggest issue that's been faced.
Yeah, agreed. And now we have lots of, well, Jeannie may say that there are a number of properties on the market that aren't selling, but they're unaffordable.
But the price of them is, and especially for the target market.
Yeah, agreed. I think, well, how do we change that dynamic? Big issue, but how do you change why are the prices going up like that? Why are there vacant homes most of the year? And there are some that just aren't even selling. So I'm just wondering whether there's something that town.
There are other programs, as you point out, that they have, and so we're trying to figure out whether it's something that we can, in fact, qualify for. I don't know the answer to that.
Got it.
Hopefully we'll by the end of.
I'd like to see if you could send us the link that you just
Sure.
used. I'd
I'll
like to
send it to
read,
Carrie.
yeah, I'd love to read the list.
Question? Of the faculty who plan to retire from the school, do we know, could we find out whether they plan to keep living here or leave? Because if there would be available housing, if they retire and leave, maybe there's a way to find out and see if possibly that could be sold, passed on. Now, of course, many people want to get the most money, as we just said before, but that would be another possibility.
I believe 2 of the teachers retiring are off-island commuting teachers, if I remember from the
So they're
minutes.
already off island.
I believe so.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think it's the English teacher and the German teacher. Don't quote me on that. But I was reading the minutes, school board meeting to see who retired. That's a really good thought. I don't remember who the third person is, but it's a good idea.
So I know that you're talking about building homes, and there's been also some discussion on the side about buying, and you mentioned that earlier in this meeting, and I know Barbara Talamo had mentioned it last September, that IIP was thinking about buying and renovating. There are 3 homes on the market now, one over by Meadow Pond Road, Meadow Pond, that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot home that's on the market for $489. There's a house on Main Road that's a 4 or 5-bedroom house, 1.5 bath, 2,400 square feet. That's on the market for $499. And there's a house over by the corner of West Bay and Ferry Road that's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house that's under 1,000 feet. That's on the market for $289. So I don't know the condition of these homes.
No, we've looked at those. So every house that I've looked at for IAP, obviously the prices are negotiable, but they require extensive work. And so if you compare the purchase price plus the renovation to a new build such as they did, there really wasn't necessarily a benefit.
Can I just ask, extensive work, to what standard? Is there a standard that has to be met by the RMs?
Yes, I mean, IAP standards are fairly high.
So you have a set of standards?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's articulated, but I do know what they put.
But that's not to say somebody might not take that deal if it
Well, I
take the
mean,
property and fix it themselves. or
Right.
something. Yeah.
so, I mean, Ginny could probably chime in on this, but one of the baths were upstairs in what I viewed as a repurposed attic. And so there would need a lot of work. Now, Ginny would tell you, as she told me, that she felt people could move in and live in that place as, I mean, with minor.
Yeah.
But if we looked at it from a IAP perspective of what we would do with it, we would go in and renovate. And I think the estimate for that renovation was, significant.
Just one other suggestion. It would be that instead of it being IAP, it being somebody else, and it doesn't have to be, maybe there's a different organization that starts up tomorrow and it says, this is our only task. Our only task is to look for these properties and see if we can get people owning homes that are homes that they have to fix themselves and they have to stay in, they can't be flipping them.
I think they're upper, they call them.
Yeah, and so, and again, that, it really is outside the IAP model, because that model says you want something that's in the shape that it can stay in the rental inventory for a significant period of time. So they're not looking to flip it at some point. Doesn't mean they haven't looked at selling some of the older homes, but
Okay, thank you.
What happens, Ted, is that the arithmetic is just impossible. That if you buy something that's $450 and you put another $100,000 into it or $150,000 into it, you're looking at a $600,000 home. And what's a mortgage? What's a 30-year mortgage on $600,000?
It's about $3,500.
35, yep.
So, if that's geared toward, the successful carpenter who's making $100,000 a year, you're still looking at using a third of your income for your housing. And that doesn't add up.
My suggestion is that because we're essentially in some of these situations, I don't know all the math either, you guys know better. Since we are going to subsidize, i.e. whether we take the money out of people's pockets who has it because they want to gift it, or the town puts aside a pool like Stonington has, but it's a bit bigger, whatever that is. But if that money is available, it subsidizes the purchase of that. And then they're paying on $400,000 total, not $600,000. But I'm trying to get to a point where we can actually make that possible because there's money out there that's being given. I mean, there's $22.5 million going to a nature center that it's inside nature. Nature's outside, right? So all that money is available apparently. So maybe this would be a better cause.
Oh, I agree with you.
Than bringing nature
I
inside.
think that the problem is that, even at the inflated or apparently high cost of developing brand new affordable housing, this plan is, and I don't care whether money comes from the wealthy Palmer or it comes from the wealthy summer resident who wants to contribute to it. It's the same, the nut is still too large.
Right, my point is, it's a $600,000 all-in home. That fund, private contributions, whatever it is, we're just putting in the $250. You're paying $350.
Yeah.
Great, go for it.
But if you can build a brand new home for $400,000 with the same deal, we'll still subsidize that.
Yeah, but then that's a cultural, that's a different topic, and I don't want to.
And it's also been,
I would think we don't want to go down that road.
it's also been identified in this committee that 400,000 is its number.
No,
It's 500 plus
right, and
to build a very small home.
but
Did
I'm
you
not-
look at the house on Moosewood Road over near, over near Meadow Pond?
No, but I know of it. I mean, I've seen it, but it's quite some time ago. That thing's been on and off the market for a while.
Yeah, it just doesn't, when I look at it, I haven't looked at it in person, but when I look at it online, it doesn't look like it's a rundown place.
No, it's not. But
And
it's also,
in terms of teachers are getting something turned around sooner than building a house, a place like that looks as though it might be a possibility. That's why I thought.
And that is an important point, but if, even at a somewhat higher cost, it's taking a house that exists and improving it, that's a easier, quicker solution than starting from scratch.
The other thing is, which IEP has considered, some on the board aren't so thrilled about the idea, is a tiny house. Maid of Maine comes over on ferry, and for single people, a couple without children, I think very desirable. And so that's the other option, or maybe not within the tiny house mode, but 800 square foot and 900 square foot, perfectly doable. And from the survey we already collected from Islesboro, let's see, about a third, not my mental math skills are not what they used to be, would like to downsize, have a 3-bedroom home and really would like to downsize. I was actually, about a third of them. And that would be a great opportunity because someone can move into a nice small home, very manageable, and that 2 or 3 bedroom home could then be, some arrangement with IIP perhaps to, get money for your home, and then you also get, however you do it, is to get people in smaller places who need or want them and free up housing for other people.
I would have bought a much smaller home. I wanted to be on Islesboro, and I would have bought a much smaller home if they were available.
Yeah,
I
and that's-
bought what was here because I wanted to be here.
And that's part of it.
Where does that sit with the IIP board, that idea?
I think some people, it's not an immediate, maybe a kind of immediate unthinking reaction was like, no. But I'll keep bringing it up because I think it is, and there's a place in Maine that makes them. They look good on the website, perfectly reasonable. They come in, everything set up. You just need a
There's-
concrete slab.
There's an example on,
You have to stop by to look at it from the outside, yeah.
I forget his last name.
But you need to have a septic or some kind of, or a gray water system, the kind of, that you had looked into, and a pad for it, and the utilities, the power. So I think to me, that would be very viable and cost effective for IIP. And so we'll see.
Sounds great.
yeah, I think the long-term answer is a combination of
Yes, a
both of what we're
combination.
talking about. That there's tiny houses because we do have people, single or couple, who have kids, so it's gotta somehow kind of come together. And again, that's something that has been discussed, but there are no decisions, if you would, that have been made in terms of the direction. So getting back to this subcommittee does need to come up with something, right? If our goal is to get something in front of the decision makers, that we need to utilize the people who have been put on that subcommittee to come up with some answers that can be formulated into a plan. And March is a very aggressive timeline, and maybe you use what Kate said, is you put a line item in the budget and then you come after it.
I think that would be a harder sell, even if, given the limited experience I've had, even a few $1,000s is an issue with the select board. But
Yeah.
I'm not trying to change the world here.
Yeah,
If we can't do it this year, but that doesn't mean we.
I
don't
think
have
that's
to-
the only realistic goal by March, is to do, as Kate was saying, establish a minor line item that would, with no particular
Yeah.
project in mind, but that would be a municipal, it's a pledge that we are in this together.
I'm passionately supportive to that idea, and I'm willing to
And I,
spearhead it, but I have some skepticism that it will be successful.
and IAP is not gonna wait for this subcommittee.
Right.
They already have started talking about what they need to do on their next
And
pledge drive,
that's
if you
great.
would.
That's great. And I
And
think a lot of the other issues you raised, Mike, that are longer range planning issues are equally as important and shouldn't be competitive with this one.
And I mean, I think IAP should move forward as fast as they can.
Yeah.
And as a member of their board, I'd love to see it. And so,
We just need money.
yeah, right now, it's how much money is in the bank and how much do we need to raise? And a lot of that ends up being project by project. And so changing its focus to a longer term, is gonna take time. That's just not gonna happen overnight. That's, again, my opinion. Barbara may give you a different answer.
Well, Ned is the one
He's-
on the
He,
IAP who's supposed to be spearheading the fundraising.
he is the
And I
fundraising
invited-
chair.
I invited him to come to and he said he was going to come to the meeting we had, and then he had a conflict and wasn't able to do that. But I think, how can we help, is my message to him.
Well, and I do go back to, and I've said this to IAP, I've said it to the housing committee, that when IAP held its open house leading up to the cottages being opened for the new residents, that a potential donor was reticent to donate money until he saw that there was a cooperative effort amongst those, and it is gonna take it how you wanna have them occupied. I am of the belief that if you wanna keep them in the affordable range, that it has to be a rental and not a sale, because the sale will end up being
Well, it's also,
marked up over time.
it's also,
mean-
how do you limit the resale ability?
And once you decide to sell it, you can't limit it anymore. If you look at Maine, and this is not a unique problem to us, we're exacerbated because we're an island. But, Maine's population has aged significantly. And so when you look at the people who have moved to Maine, the percentage of houses that are being sold for cash, and Jimmy can probably talk to this better than I can.
Laws can be passed that change the behavior of that desire. Now, I'm suggesting this because I'm speaking to a municipal entity. I don't know which one, but that would be thinking that through and running from Cranberry Island and New York City and all the places that do certain things like flip taxes and other things. There are mechanisms being used in different governments and different places to change that behavior, which is, hey, if you want to own a second home, your taxes are 400% more. Now, I know no one's gonna like that, I'm throwing that out there as an idea, but what it does is it changes behavior, which is, hey, unless I'm really rich, unless I really just don't care, I'm gonna go live in Canada. Okay, fine, great, perfect, because we want this home for people here. Otherwise, we can't serve the rest. So anyway, my suggestion would be, maybe I haven't done any studies, but there are many, many ways that towns try to deal with this stuff, and more so. So I suggest maybe there's a way
Yeah,
to change the dynamics.
right, and one of the people, one of our subcommittee members, has brought up is somebody who's very familiar with how municipalities manage that and how they raise money. And so we clearly want to have some time with that individual.
Are you talking about Kate or someone else?
No, this was Jennifer.
Okay.
Talking about Joel.
Yeah.
But
And,
but actually, Ted, just not my area of expertise, but I did meet with the tax assessor. I met with, Janet and I talked about this, and there are some not impossible, but serious legal encumbrances in Maine against flip taxes specifically, but other kinds of.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think it's something we need to pursue. Yeah, there may be just one example that helps us get a step forward. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, I can see why, because historically, if you think about Maine's, mass population, all of us, we have enough money to rub two sticks together. So, they'd be like, well, I can get 15% more, I'll take it. Because I've owned a home for 20 years, I'm gonna sell it to Bob for 15% more. They wouldn't want to flip tax, and it wouldn't make sense. But now the world's changed. Everyone's here with second and third homes. So, I'm not saying that solves the problem, but I would want Augusta to look at that argument.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about doing transfer taxes and they provided the municipality with a piece of it. Right now, it's against the law, so.
Non-resident second homes, no occupation periods.
Yes, that is a vital approach.
Mhm.
Is, home is vacant for more than X number of years, you pay some amount.
The interesting culture, because we love the dark harbor dynamic has been for so long. It's very beneficial to everybody. But those big homes, we don't want to put so far out of market, it ruins that either, so.
I don't know what that number is.
It may not matter, exactly.
I keep scratching my head and wondering. But I will say, we need to keep in mind that in my tenure on this island, we had the vastly expensive improvement to the school. We had the Kinnigan Center before that. We had the community center and the municipal building project. All were multi-million-dollar projects that were financed one way or another. And part of it was that there was effective communication to the entire population, seasonal and others, that this was vital to sustainability. So it's not as if we haven't had any success in the past.
I couldn't agree more. And I think we had a little bit more time then, or at least we saw each other more often. Stores and things were a bit bigger and more, maybe some of that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, I think we beat this horse enough. So any other comments, I guess, is this committee and the subcommittee will have to set its next dates. The subcommittee has to meet obviously sooner. If we're gonna get anything done in time to give people a heads up.
Well, this proposal, which I hadn't heard before, of a line item of very modest amount, I'm perfectly willing, if we can figure out who is proposing this and how to word it, I'm perfectly willing to bring that up.
Okay, well, we can
And
certainly
that
do some,
sounds more immediate.
yeah, we can do some work on how that would be constructed.
Something Kate would know how to do.
I don't know if she knows how to do it, but she knows about it.
Right.
And I'm seeing Brian in another day or two, and I'll chat with him because he certainly should have some insight into that.
I don't know if Kate has the time and the
No, that's
energy. I would love to help, but it seems like there's an article in the Island News about the Vinyl Haven Affordable Housing Program. I know that North Haven has a program, Stonington, and how everybody else is doing this.
Yeah, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. Okay, so I'm gonna do this in two pieces. The next committee meeting, you're out of town.
I'm gone.
Um,
I mean, I could probably Zoom, I can't guarantee it. Do it on your schedule.
okay. Or we could fly to wherever you are.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. Is it war?
I'm traveling, I'm taking a road trip south, yeah. It'll be
That'd be
more.
interesting.
So you guys leave, when is it again?
Hmm?
What day are you leaving again?
A week from today.
Okay, so on the 18th, you and Sue take off.
11th.
And when are you coming back?
The end of March,
You got a date?
28th.
Unless it passes a warm golf course.
Yeah.
See, look at that smile on his face. All right. Suggestions for the next meeting. The 12th.
Yeah. Sure.
I can't be there.
That's why I
I have
Thursday.
a board meeting with the preschool.
Okay,
But
Thursday,
don't
Wednesday.
do it just for me. Don't change it for me if it works for everyone else.
We'll take it as a
what's the 11th?
Wednesday.
Unavailable. That's select board meeting.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
All Wednesdays in March are off
Okay.
limits.
So how about the 10th?
or the 13th.
That's a Friday night. We don't encourage that. Thursday, the 5th?
Works for me.
Fine.
That's Thursday the 5th. Is that what I heard?
Okay.
Okay, and then, Peter, we have to have the subgroup meet.
Well, I think we should try and do that before town leaves, right?
Yes. Can you meet on Monday, the night? The nights, can you meet?
It doesn't matter.
So, that okay with you?
Sure.
5/9. Well,
9 instead of,
Daniel, you've been part of that, the ninth for
The
you?
ninth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
What time?
We're just trying to get the date.
I thought you said the time.
No, the other one is 5. We haven't set a time. I'm
This is March the 9th, Monday,
No, February.
February. March.
and I'm okay anytime. I don't know what Jennifer's schedule is.
Yeah, I have something in the morning, but anytime in the afternoon or the evening.
Is anything, can we use this room on the 9th
Not in the evening,
in the afternoon?
probably.
So how about like 4 o'clock or 3
4
o'clock?
o'clock work?
Planning board is at 5 o'clock.
So how about 3 o'clock,
3:30?
3:30?
Okay, 3:30 on the 9th.
Probably a town subcommittee. If there are other organizations involved. I mean, a subcommittee of the
Well,
housing committee
so
would
right
be
now, with
like,
the exception of Daniel, everybody who is on the committee is part of the housing committee,
Oh.
even though they're on other committees and.
oh, I
Just
see.
make
I can attend as a visitor, still spout my mouth off.
So
So, okay, yeah,
can we do that just as an ad hoc?
3
Check with
o'clock,
Janet.
is that what we?
Okay, because I do know that she wants this proposal, she and Shay talked about the proposal coming out of an existing
3:05.
330.
330.
So we can call it an ad hoc off of the,
We could call it a housing subcommittee.
Okay. we'll do that, housing subcommittee.
Do we need to vote Jennifer in?
She's already
She's
been
already
appointed on.
It's mysterious. I'm happy that.
So we can do it. No, wait. No, they'd have to do it,
This is the board.
they'd have to do it themselves.
Well, it depends.
And the screen is really
Yes,
messaging.
so, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And I will certainly try to be there
All
Monday
in favor?
afternoon. And I can't guarantee it, but I'm
Done.
trying to.
Yes. Okay.
Well, let's